Step back in time and learn the secrets of the Iron Knight as well as the formation of Cyclops' brand new X-Team. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of X-Men issue number 7 and find out together, shall we? So then this newest issue does the whole split timeline thing. In one, we actually step back in time multiple months to see what became of Cyclops after the dissolution of Krakoa as a nation. Needless to say, he's not taking it very well. He's gone back to his old family lodge in Merle, Alaska so he can drink shitty beer and stew about everything that's gone wrong for him and mutant kind as an extension. Of course, this pity party ends up getting crashed by Magneto, who says it's high time to stop moping and that Cyclops should get his ass back in gear and be the mutant leader that everyone is looking for right now. And also that drinking in a frozen tundra-scape is really just such a Wolverine move when you stop and think about it, which is probably one of the finest burns I've read in a while. Then of course we have the second timeline, which involves Piper, the young girl who believed herself to be a mutant who was picked up by temper and magic at the end of the previous issue. Piper, you'll remember, believes that it was actually her coming into her mutant powers that caused that giant Sentinel to attack this small Alaska town in the first place, meaning that she is actually the one responsible for what would go on to be called the Iron Knight, which is admittedly a pretty baller name for a thing that ultimately, as I will describe, ended up being kind of inconsequential in the greater scheme of things. While most of the X-Men are happy to host the kid, people like Psylocke are actually a little upset, saying that temper and magic broke the rules and that they're supposed to be a team and that they're supposed to make these decisions together, which is a hilarious thing to say because one of the only consistent things about these last 6 issues of X-Men stories is how everyone on Cyclops' team basically breaks off to do their own thing at a moment's notice all the time. Now, back in the past, Cyclops actually opens up to Magneto over crappy beers about how exactly he's feeling, how despite how he has spent all of his life fighting for mutant causes, he now has less to show for it than ever. No island nation, no love either, as Jean Grey has gone off to space to do the whole Phoenix thing as she needed to do. What I find funny about this exchange is how Cyclops talks about Krakoa like it's no more, it's gone, he failed. Nah man, it succeeded, Krakoa exists, it just exists in the white hot room. Hell, you and the rest of mutant kind decided to stay behind and continue to fight the good fight. And yeah, rebuilding from scratch sucks, but you act like this is the first time you've done it while also somehow acting like this all wasn't your choice from the get-go, but I digress. Now, wouldn't you know it, but the Summers family lodge just so happens to exist right across from that Sentinel factory that the X-Men will inevitably take over. The Avengers cleared the place out and shut it down, but apparently they weren't completely thorough, as we are introduced to what is known as a wild Sentinel, basically a Sentinel chassis that managed to stay in operation after the fall of Orchis and is now able to actively rebuild itself with materials from the surrounding area, and this one has been building for a while because it's even bigger than your regular run-of-the-mill Sentinel. Naturally, Magneto and Cyclops jump to the conclusion that this wild Sentinel must be coming after them, but in a surprise twist, the Sentinel actually goes to attack the town. This ultimately proves to be exactly what Scott needed to shake him out of his funk, as him and Eric jump into action right away to try and stop this thing from hurting innocent people. Even though the townsfolk are seemingly just as freaked out at the arrival of mutants as they are about this giant Sentinel who might very well destroy them. Luckily, Magneto, making use of his amazing magnetic abilities, is able to hold the giant metal monstrosity long enough for Cyclops to get off a concussive blast right to this thing's core, shutting it down completely. Really? That was it? That was the Iron Knight? That's the big event that everyone has been talking about in hushed tones for the last several issues? Okay. Well, okay, there is actually a little bit more than that. You see, before Cyclops and Magneto can celebrate, Eric is shocked to realize that he can't actually control his powers anymore. They end up lashing out of control, and Cyclops is forced to knock him out to save all the other townspeople, and you're thinking, oh no, how bad was it? Did he kill a bunch of bystanders? No, he didn't actually hurt anyone. Again, why is the town being weirder towards mutants than normal? By my count, Cyclops actively saved them all twice. But of course, you're probably wondering, why exactly can't Magneto control his powers? powers right now? Well, it's because he's sick, and in this issue, we finally learn what that sickness is called. And that would be RLDS, which is actually short for Resurrection-Linked Degenerative Sickness. Basically, you didn't think the mutants were gonna get off scot-free for all the times they cheated the Reaper, right? Magneto is also quick to bring up that this revelation actually has some pretty long-reaching implications. He was only resurrected once, and he's already this sick. Imagine people like Cyclops or Quentin Quire who were resurrected dozens of times. Now, it's after that we check back on in with Piper. It seems that Beast is done running his tests on her, and to everyone's surprise, she's not actually a mutant at all, just a young girl going through many changes, and who mistook them for being a mutant. This is also kind of a bitter situation too, as Magic and Temper have no choice but to take her back to her mutant-hating mother. Though, you know, maybe now she's made some friends, sees how the other half live, and because of that will maybe be a better influence on her parent moving forward, who's to say? And if you're anything like me and thinking to yourself, wow, after all that she wasn't a mutant, talk about anticlimactic, well, as she goes to sleep that night, her hand briefly changes into a claw before turning back. What does any of that mean? Hell if I know. But wait, we're still not done either, as this comic actually comes packing a bit of a post-credits scene wherein we see Beast come into town to meet the friendly police chief, only to end up getting jumped and black-bagged, as to set up the big crossover storyline Raid on Grey Mulkin starting next issue. And so that was X-Men issue number 7, everybody, and honestly, this is an issue that I liked less and less the more I actually stopped and thought about it. I thought I'd be happy to finally get the backstory on Cyclops' brand new X-Men team and why he's doing all the stuff he's doing and why Magneto is sick, and yet here I am with the answers, and my only reaction is, really, that's it? Also, why on earth did it take 7 issues to tell such a simplistic little story? In fairness, the whole mutant resurrection sickness plotline might actually prove to be interesting elsewhere, though I do have to kind of scratch my head and go, if resurrection wasn't so perfect, why are they only seeing the problems with it now? And I might actually forgive a lot of these other problems too if I was actually more invested in the inter-team dynamics in this story, but all of that seems off too. As I mentioned before, this X-Men team feels way less like an actual team book and more just like a bunch of individuals flung together. Overall, I guess I'd feel comfortable giving this one a 6.5 out of 10. It's not necessarily the worst, but it is certainly annoying. For what it's worth though, I am excited for Raid on Grey Mulkin, and I hope the book can kind of find its identity and find its footing either during that story or after.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.